Hi, it's Tony Robbins. Welcome to Customer Outcome Selling. So I want to just take a moment before you start to make sure you get the results that you're investing this time for. And I know all of us have been to trainings of some sort where we learned something and we thought it was really valuable, but then when we went to go implement it, we got caught up in our normal life and we didn't follow through. So I think one of the most important things is to decide right now that you're here and you're going to squeeze out of this some things that are going to truly take your team and your economics to the next level for the company and for yourself. And in order to do that, I think a lot of people have the mistaken notion that the reason they're not applying something is, they're just not committed enough or they're not determined enough, when in reality, it has a lot to do with the way that you learn. Most people, when they're learning, went through a 20th century school. So the mindset in 20th century school is bell rings, you sit down, you're passive, you're not supposed to talk to your neighbor, don't do anything until you're told what to do. But you and I know in the world we live in today, if you sit around in business and you don't talk to your neighbor, you're out of business. If you wait for someone to tell you what to do, you're going to the bottom of the pile. You're not moving towards the top of where you deserve to be in business and in life. So today, you have to kind of break out of the learning trance you've been in. And the way to do that is to really get yourself active. So we're going to really invite you to put yourself in a physical state. In other words, if you're learning something and you're enjoying it even, but you're in a passive state, you're like, wow, this is really valuable. I could really use this. This could make a difference in my business. And you're feeling this way, and your body's this way. Later on, you're going to go, yeah, I really should do this. As opposed to if there's an energy, if there's a responsiveness. If I were to ask you a question, even though we're on the screen or someone else does, you raise your hand, you give back the answer. And the idea of this is not so you have a rah-rah session. It's so that you're engaged. You and I both know engagement at the corporate level is pathetically low compared to where it needs to be for us to be productive, but more importantly, for us to enjoy ourselves. So the people facilitating this are going to ask you to really get in gear and get associated. And I also want you to know, look, you don't need to make gigantic changes to take your business to a whole different level. I think it's one of the biggest challenges. I had the privilege over the last 4 years of writing a book called Money Master the Game. And in it, I interviewed 50 of the smartest people financially on earth. Not only people like, the names that you would know, a Warren Buffett, but names you may not know, like a Ray Dalio is the largest hedge fund in the world, $165 billion. A giant hedge fund where wealthy people put their money in is $15 billion. He's 10 times their size. He manages money for China. The reason I tell you this is when I interviewed all these incredible financial geniuses, I was under the assumption they must be giant risk takers, taking big risks to get big rewards. And the one universal thing I learned is they don't take big risks. They make these small little changes, these little 2-millimeter changes that allow them to produce a result where, you're heading one direction, make a 2-millimeter change. You take that a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, you have a totally different destination, a totally different result. I'll give you a metaphor. I coach individuals and I coach some of the best people in the world in finance and business. And one of my clients a few years ago was a plastic surgeon who was considered to be the very best on earth. And the man, I've been coaching him, and I show up one day to coach him, and he's still busy. And this is a guy, by the way, that the Sultan of Brunei paid $2 million to fly him over and do two people's faces in his family. I mean, if you're in Hollywood and you have the money and you're the best of the best, this is the guy that everybody sees and nobody talks about. So I go to my meeting with him, my coaching session, and he's late. So I wait, and all of a sudden, his assistant comes up and says, Dr. Huffman said he's really sorry he's late, but you might want to come in and watch some of the surgery. You might find it fascinating. So I thought, wow, great. So sure enough, I go in and music, he's got this rock and roll music going, classic rock, and he's all mucked up, and I got, scrubs on. I'm all prepared as well. I walk in, he goes, oh, Tony, under his cloth, he goes, watch this. And he chisels this woman's face and lifts her face off. And I had what you would call a state change. And I was like, after a few minutes, I was like, wow, this is fascinating. But I have a few phone calls I need to make. So I excused myself. And I went and sat down in his office. And I was going to do some work. And there was a book there. And the book is, he's at a stage of life, this doctor, where he's getting older. He's not going to be doing much surgery much longer. And so now his legacy matters. Now he wants to teach people to do what he does. And he's considered to be the greatest artist and surgeon together. And in this book, he had pictures of more than 100 of the most attractive men and 100 of the most attractive women cross-culturally in the world in the last 25 years. And he'd analyzed them statistically to figure out what changes in the face cause us, no matter where we are in the world, to be attracted to someone. Even though we're all different, there's certain triggers. And then he started showing these pictures, and I read something that blew my mind. He said that no change in the face should be more than 2 millimeters. This tiny little change. 2 millimeters maximum, but there's 7 areas to do it in. And it can take somebody who looks like he took a woman who was 82 years old, made her look like she was 50 and gorgeous, and no exaggeration. And I'm watching these pictures and I'm going, wow, all this is just little changes. In fact, he talks about if you try to make a big change, you mess up the face. If you try to make too big a change, you mess up your business. We're going to look at those little 2 millimeter shifts. If you play golf and you hit the ball square, amazing. 2 millimeters off, and you got some force behind you, you might be 150 yards off to one side or the other. So we're going to look at those shifts. That's what this is really about. So put yourself in a state where you're ready to rock and roll. Decide right now that you're going to pull a few distinctions. That's all you need to change your business, change your team, change yourself. And let's take this to the next level. And I just want you, while you're participating, really think about how you can apply these techniques to your sales team to get greater results and how you create even more personalized connection with your customers. Meanwhile, I hope someday I get the opportunity to meet you in person.